This episode of Cousins and Sons is brought to you by Authentic Muay Thai Supply. This is an online fightwear store where you can find the best, most authentic Muay Thai protection gear, training gear, boxing gloves, and Muay Thai shorts straight up from Thailand. Good prices, good people. Check them out over at authenticmuaythaisupply.com and enjoy this episode of the podcast.
Yeah.
Nailed it, Pepper.
You'll be proud of someone. Just give me a chance to make yourself. If you don't like me here, I will be someone else.
And we're back.
Yes, we are.
Cousins and Sons podcast.
Cousins and Sons, or Cousins and Steve Simeone podcast.
Yeah, thanks for being on, bud.
Yeah.
Cousins and friends.
Cousins and friends.
Yep, exactly. As you can, which is good to know, because Simone, you have a podcast called Good Times.
Yeah, you guys have to come on.
Yeah.
It'll be sweet.
Totally. Yeah.
Looking forward to that and everything, because if you guys don't know who he is, for us, it's funny because we met you doing jiu-jitsu.
Yes.
We met you doing jiu-jitsu, and I actually like the fact that I met you doing that and not met you
At the club or something.
At the club, at the comedy store, even seeing, going to a show, because I feel, as cheesy as it sounds, the friendship is even more there because we weren't.
There's an extra bond
there, you know?
Because I'm so grateful for you, because you guys have been so kind with helping me on my jiu-jitsu journey. You know, I'm the worst person there. And it's like when somebody helps you survive, you're like, oh, dude, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for getting me through that. So then when I see you in an environment such as the comedy store or comedy club where I'm like, hey, I could help you guys here.
Yeah.
And that makes me feel good to be able to return the courtesy that you've extended to me.
And we have appreciated it fully.
Yeah.
And we've talked about you. Because it's funny, if you've listened to our first podcast, you could practically play a drinking game with how many times we say your name. So
we always say the full name.
Yeah, we always say Steve Simeone was doing this, and Steve Simeone said this.
Steves.
Yeah, we do know a lot of Steves.
Steve's is a very common name.
So we're always like Steve Simeone, and I was like, wow,
Coach
listening to it, I was like, yep, Coach Steve. So I was like, we can make a drinking game of how many times we say your name. But now it's, if you don't know who he is, here's the face for it. Or
Sorry
if
to disappointed. Ladies, sorry.
Oh, they love it.
Oh, dude. Ladies, you'd be so...
They love it.
Be so lucky.
You know what's so great? We're hanging out like morning time, and we're already having laughs.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
That's great. Oh, yeah. 10:30 a.m. Well, 11. Maybe.
11. Yeah. But no, it's still and normally we'd be getting our butts kicked in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, this is so much better than getting choked out.
Yeah, which you did twice this week.
Yeah.
How was that?
How you feeling?
My whole body's sore.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is this your first time going twice a week?
In a very long time. Yeah, like when I first got started, I was in there like 3 or 4 times in the first week, and coach was like, hey man, you might want to take your foot off the gas a little bit, because I couldn't move.
Yeah.
I thought something was wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Mordecai was just like, hey man,
it's okay.
This is what jiu-jitsu is. Like, you're not injured, you're just sore.
There's a guy in your class named Mordecai?
Yeah.
He's a rabbi, dude.
That's so hardcore.
Dude, he's the coolest person
He is hardcore.
ever.
He's a black belt.
Black belt. He was in the military.
He's a real-life Jedi.
Yeah.
He even looks like Obi-Wan Kenobi.
He really does look like Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah. He's not very tall.
That's so cool.
He puts off the vibe like, I get it.
Yeah.
Like, that guy knows how to
Yeah, he's one of those where it's like,
he's amazing.
He goes easy because, he's sore and he's healing and stuff, but at the same time, he hurts me every time because he can. But he still has his way about it. So it's like, no, if he turns it on, you're dead.
It's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating.
It's one of those things that proves jiu-jitsu's real.
Yeah.
It's just like, wow, if you saw Mordecai on the streets being a young man or like in your 30s or something like that, you'd be like, oh, this guy can't do nothing to me.
Yeah.
How wrong you are.
Oh, so wrong.
That's always the way, too. It's always the people that are like, hey, buddy.
Yeah.
And they could just like move their shoulder a little bit.
Right.
It's fascinating. It's like,
but you don't know that unless you do martial arts or know people that do. That kind of tell you that.
Well, I always knew like that I should just be nice to people.
Oh, yeah. No.
My life experience,
same.
like I was like, I went out for the wrestling team in 7th grade because I thought it was professional wrestling. Like legit. I remember like,
where's the ropes?
Dude, I already had my character made up in my mind. I was like, if I run into trouble, I'll just have my brother come out with a steel chair. Like legit, that's what I thought it would be. And they're going over all this stuff, and I was confused, and I see another fat kid whose face is confused. And then when they opened up the floor for questions, the other fat kid raised his hand. He was like, where's the ring? And the coaches were like, this isn't that kind of wrestling. And then that kid was smart enough to take it on the arches. And I was like, well, I made a commitment. And I got pinned every match. It was like handshake, struggle, pin. Handshake, struggle. So then that reminded me that I have to probably be a sidekick and be nicer to the people.
Yeah.
But then once I got involved in jiu-jitsu, it's one thing to see it. Like, it's one thing to see it in MMA, or even now grappling's starting to become really popular.
Yeah.
So it's one thing to see it. It's a whole other thing to feel it.
Oh, yeah.
Where you'll have somebody that doesn't look like they're doing anything, and they're not expending any energy, but you can't move off the floor.
Yeah.
Like, I can lift weights, I can do this, but I just can't. It's magic. It's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is.
No,
it really is.
That's been our philosophy since. I mean, I think we've always tried to have that philosophy, but again, since meeting you, it's like getting into that mindset, starting jiu-jitsu even. It's like being like, we're getting our butts kicked.
Starting comedy. What are you talking about?
Well, no, I'm saying starting jiu-jitsu was first, where it's like, oh, this is going to be just go in and have a good attitude. You know, like I'm bad. I'm just excited to, that's a cool move.
Dude,
I'm just excited to be a part of it. Let's do it again. Let's do it and just keep showing up.
And just be, persistence and gratitude, man.
So when the day we found out, comedy, and you're like, oh, you guys thinking about doing it? I'm like, yeah, we've thought about it. And you're like, you should do it. And it took us like a good 4 months, I'd say 5 months to actually pull the trigger and do it. But even then it was like, no, it's just like jiu-jitsu. You just got to keep doing it, and it's this and that. And we're like, we did our first open mic, and it was like, we got it out of there, and Steele's like, damn it, Steve Simeone. It is not like jiu-jitsu, but it is
way harder.
No, it's so much easier. It's so funny.
It's way harder than jiu-jitsu.
Dude, no, but can you breathe?
I know, right?
No,
and like,
not really. Not that day I couldn't.
Not that day.
Well, what's so cool about this topic? I think we've all been blessed with different gifts.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And for me, comedy's just my gift. It's like, you have to work at it, and you have to be persistent, and you have to take all the disappointments and the ups and downs.
Yeah.
And that takes some time, but just naturally I could do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Just naturally. I can't. I'm not an athlete. Like, even if I was 20 years younger, starting my jiu-jitsu journey, it would still be a challenge.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
But there are people, like some of the guys we were talking about, like, you just look at somebody and they show up in class and it's like a fish to water.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I don't have that gift.
Yeah.
But hopefully the lessons I've learned in comedy about being persistent and showing up.
Yeah. When was the first time you realized you wanted to do stand-up?
Oh, man. I would say that's an interesting question, because I would say I always thought it was so cool.
Mm-hmm.
And my earliest memory of stand-up comedy in particular, this will show you how old I am, but I remember being like 2.
Okay.
And my parents had tickets to go see Richard Pryor perform.
Oh, okay.
And I was 2 or 3 years old, and I remember being jealous that I couldn't go.
Okay.
And I remember them picking up me and my brothers from my grandmother's house, because she was babysitting us.
Yeah.
And my dad telling us why it was so awesome.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I grew up in a house where laughter was a commodity, and we used it to, connect and love and sort of cope with life. And the first special that rocked my world was Eddie Murphy Delirious. Oh. But
I rocked a lot of worlds, I'm pretty sure.
I grew up in an era where HBO comedy, my formative years were that comedy boom of the 80s. So I always thought it was the coolest thing ever, but it wasn't. And I know this might sound crazy to some people, but I thought you had to have permission, or you had to be born special to do something like comedy with your life. Like, I thought you just go to college, you get married, you have a family, and you have a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't think you were allowed to do it. I know that sounds so crazy.
No,
I thought
not
you had
really.
to be born special. Like, I thought you had to know somebody, or
you really don't know unless you can look into it. And back then, you didn't have like the internet. You couldn't just go Google shit.
Completely different world. And podcasts.
Podcasts. Just learning about.
So informative.
You didn't know the doors you had. You know, there wasn't any doors, or you didn't know the opportunities.
And I'm like, you just started an open mic, and I remember doing. And here's like, I hope somebody listening that's a young comic will find this encouraging. I remember it was probably like 1998, maybe. I don't remember. It was late 98 or 99, maybe. And doing an open mic in Philadelphia, like on a Tuesday night. And I was like, what's the point in doing this? Mm-hmm. Who's gonna, like, not, I was doing it for the fun of it, but I didn't think in any way anybody at that open mic would make it in comedy.
Yeah.
Because it's Philly, the comedy was dead. At that open mic, I mean,
that's
Big
crazy.
J Okerson.
See, we were just talking about
Big J was there and was the guy. Big J closed out that show, and there was a little funny dude from North Philly named Lil Kev, who now the world knows is Kevin Hart, and he's the biggest star in comedy.
Wow.
And he just got started in an open mic.
Yeah.
Big J just got started an open mic where they were. They weren't in New York. They weren't, not in New York yet. They weren't in New York. They weren't in LA. They just got started where they are. And I think that's the important thing with whatever, whether it's comedy, whether it's jujitsu, whether it's starting a business, whether it's learning how to cook, whatever it is, just get started where you are and enjoy the process and never give up. That's it.
Yeah. That's, I mean, we've been learning that along the way over the last few months, even just constantly, you know, doing that first one and being like, oh, I don't know if we're going to be able to do it, and then doing it again. And it's been great because we've had you to kind of mentor and be there for us, to talk to us and help us through things. Mm-hmm. And then we've had Travis, who has helped us along the way. And like both of you guys, you know, both of you guys have been there to like, to be there to like push us forward to where it's like, oh, when we've had those days where it's like, oh, dude, that was a crap. Or, oh man, I don't know if I want to do this. Or it's this. It's just like, no, keep doing it. Or
life,
you know, like
life is a team sport.
Yeah.
Like I think you have to balance that.
Good point.
You have to balance that personal responsibility with accepting the fact that you're going to need help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I always used to feel guilt. I still have a problem with receiving help in a lot of ways. But once you sort of realize that you're just part of this chain, that as you're receiving help, you're also giving help, and just make sure that you're there to help the next person in line, the next person that needs it. Like one of my favorite things at the Comedy Store is to see that scared open micer.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be cool to this person.
Yeah.
Because I remember how much it meant.
Yeah.
It's not just 3 minutes on stage.
Yeah.
It's your whole reason.
Especially there, once you kind of make it to that moment at the Comedy Store. You've put
that's how things happen.
A hero of yours was just on that same stage.
Yeah, the Comedy Store's definitely changed. When I was there, it was like the Wild West. Like, comedy was dead. I did my first open mic at the store in like September of 2000. And there was, I mean, half the comics that signed up were essentially homeless, crazy people for the open mic. And there was no audience. There was no like, there was really no hope for comedians other than the joy of performing.
Yeah.
Like it was like when reality television started to come in, it was before podcasts and social media. And I mean, we just went there because we had nowhere else to go. Like it just was like, okay, comics are my people. Mm-hmm. We're here for each other. This is our treehouse on Sunset.
The home for misfits.
Yeah, that's all it was. And it was a different place. Like you could, I guess to make my point more clear, you had no fear of, as long as Mitzi wasn't there, you could bomb on this at the Comedy Store without fear of any repercussions. In fact, the few comedians that had careers at the time always used the Comedy Store during those years as a workout. Gotcha. But now things have changed. Now it's now it's the premier club in the world.
Yeah.
Because comedy's back.
Yeah.
You know? So.
Yeah, you said it's back, and we had talked a few weeks ago or a few months ago about, and you said something about how you think it's going to take another dive again.
Well, I don't think this is what what do I know? I think right now, there's always a comedy boom, in my opinion, as a student of comedy. I think all comedians, like I've noticed that with jiu-jitsu guys, they have so much love and respect for their lineage. For the art of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with comics. Like, that's my true passion. That was my gift. I've studied the trends in comedy, and it's just one guy's opinion, but I think there's always a comedy boom after a new technology.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would say the first American generation of comics were before radio. You know, it was guys like Will Rogers and stuff like that. Mark Twain, Will Rogers. I think that was the beginning of it. But then radio came out, and there was a boom in comedy. Then television came out, and there was a boom in comedy. Then cable television came out. There was a boom in comedy. Now with the new technology where people are finally utilizing their phones with Instagram and podcasting, YouTube changed the game.
Yeah. Oh, I bet.
There's a boom in comedy.
Yeah.
Now, I think what happens is, I think part of not just is technology fueling this boom, but you have an entire generation of comics that were developing with no eyes on them. Like, the people that are really, in my opinion, the best comedians in the world right now, they've been doing it at least 20 years, probably closer to 30 years. Like, you guys, Joey Diaz, Bill Burr, Sebastian, Joe Rogan, Ari Schiff. Ari's been doing it at least 20 years.
Yeah.
It takes a long time to get really good. So I think what'll happen is this generation that's just starting to get the comedy bug now, they will be at the forefront of the next boom when this sort of, but I don't think it's dying off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I think it died off in the 90s. Like, after you had the boom in the 80s, then you had like Def Jam, Blue Collar, there was niche comedy. You know, it was still, people were selling tickets in niches. But I think comedy's a lot like skateboarding, where like it had its booms.
Yep.
And then it kind of died off, and then it had a little bit of a boom, but then it never went anywhere. And I think comedy's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And as long as I have so much faith in the next generation, guys like you, the next generation of comics. Like, I love watching the open mic at the Comedy Store and seeing like the door guys go up.
Yeah.
I'm like, if that dude had a chance to rock a hot Saturday night show, it would be lights out. Like, I'm very confident that the future of comedy's in good hands.
Yeah.
So I think as long as there's quality content, it's going to be great. Now, do I think you're going to have so many comedians that are out there able to sell theater? Like, right now, I've never seen comedy like this.
Right.
Like, even in the boom in the 80s, you had a handful of guys that could sell 2,000 tickets. Now there's probably 150 comics that could sell out 2,000 tickets. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Dude, and what makes the Comedy Store so crazy is that you could see 7 or 8 of them on the same show.
Yeah. Yeah. When I see the ticket of everything, I'm like, oh my gosh, performing. I know them. They're all going out, selling out shows all over the place.
Yeah, like, I think tonight it's like Joe Rogan, Joey Diaz, Theo Vaughn, Sebastian, Ron White. Like, what?
Just all under one roof.
It's great. It's like a comedy festival every night.
Yeah.
And as a comedy fan, oh, dude, it's the best feeling just being there. Like, I feel like a nerd freshman that knows the guys on the football team. Like, whenever one of those guys just says hi to me, like, you know, like a cool comedian, they're like, hey, how's it going, Steve? I'm like, awesome. Such a good feeling.
No, it's funny going to the Comedy Store and seeing these people and seeing them. And then I think we sometimes take for granted living in this town and having the opportunities to be around great comedy all the time.
Yes.
Tons of open mics.
Open mics. You have just even starting comedy, having the opportunity for different places to do open mics, along with having the opportunity to see great comedy and not being like some small town where it's like you're just hoping for your favorite comedian to come to town, or you watch them on Netflix. Which is a whole different feeling. It loses that energy. It loses that energy. Yeah, there's funny. And even doing it now, I see the difference of like, oh, you still are that funny on Netflix, and me being able to watch you in my bed and still laugh.
Yes.
But there's that like being in the crowd in the audience in that moment.
Yeah, I would say that like somebody like Joey Diaz has to like it's like experiencing a hurricane.
Yeah.
You have to let his energy affect your energy. Like, I think it's the greatest thing in entertainment, a Joey Diaz live show.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
Like, it's better than sports. It's better than a rock concert.
Mhm.
It's
Oh, dude, it changed. I mean, him coming here changed my life.
right.
Yeah.
Like,
Exponentially.
he's a special talent.
Mhm.
Like you have to experience comedy live, and
Yeah.
if you ever have the chance to see
that
him
laugh,
live,
every time.
Oh yeah.
Every
I
time.
mean, that's what a gift we have to experience. Like, we're literally learning from the masters,
Yeah.
legends.
Yep.
Like, I'm very frustrated with a lot of things about Los Angeles. And I've said for the last few years that I could leave LA tomorrow, but I couldn't leave the Comedy Store tomorrow.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just because for me, that's also my family.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like, after Brody passed it really dawned on me, like,
Yeah.
oh, this is my family.
Yeah.
Because,
For
the
sure.
way we came together to support each other.
Oh no, yeah. It's everybody there is connected, and like everybody flocked in, and it was amazing to see. Like,
Yeah.
and it was cool. We were even talking too about the night we were in the back bar, and Bert came in. Who else? Ari came in, and then Brody was there.
Yeah.
That was it. And I was like, and that night when he texted, we are like, wait, was that guy? Was that? Yep, that was Brody. And it was like that moment. And that was like 2 weeks before. And we were just like, wow,
Yeah.
those moments. And like, just to see how that affected everybody. But it comes back, and it came back to, it is a family. Like, if it wasn't a family, you wouldn't be affected by the people involved with it as much. Like, it's that bond of like, you might see each other 7 nights a week, or there might be times where you don't see each other because you're on the road, or there might be, but that's that family bond where it's like, you always come back and it's like, no, how was it? How's the kids? How's this? How's the family? Like, that's that family bond that I see you talk about at the store, which we feel like either through jiu-jitsu is getting there.
Yes.
I mean, we've only barely started, and here at the Fourth Wall, even in the last month or so, it's been that like, it's going out into the world and like trying new places is scary, but also at the Fourth Wall, regardless, it's like we know enough people here now to where it's like, oh, cool. Hey, how you doing? Hey, like everybody's shooting the shit because it feels like there's that kind of connection.
It's great.
Yeah.
And you will have that connection with other comics too. Like, I think it was Jeff Ross I heard interviewed years ago. It might have been like Jeff Ross on the Tim Ferriss podcast or something like that. And I hope I'll paraphrase. I hope I'm getting the gist of what he said correct. I always hate quoting other people. Trying to say, I heard this somewhere, and then somebody's like, my name should never be in your mouth. Like, I'm always afraid somebody's going to just punk me. Like, I heard you on a pod. I'm like, no, it's saying something nice. You don't know me well enough to say my name. But he said something along the lines of that he could walk into a room, like at a party or something, and if he finds out that somebody's a comic, immediately he knows he has more in common with that person than anybody else in the room.
Yeah.
Regardless of age, race, religion. He said it could be the person that grew up next to you. You still have that unspoken bond with comics. And it's a cool thing, man. Yeah,
it's probably wasn't until probably in the last few weeks where, like we told you, until we released the podcast and started telling people, no one knew we were doing stand-up. No one knew we were doing a podcast. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't until the last few weeks where it was more like, okay, still don't feel like we've earned our right to call ourselves comics, but there's been niches of like, all right, like someone asks or something, like I feel more comfortable saying it, kind of thing now, rather than but we're constantly around people who've been doing this for years. So it's like, no, we're not saying like, oh, you're a comic. No. We're still, we're still at the baby ground. We have a respect for it.
Which is flattering to hear as somebody that's spent 20 years doing comedy. Yeah. It's not that big a deal. But that's how I feel like when people ask me about jiu-jitsu, I just stare at my feet and I go, I don't know anything about it. I'm just happy to have people that know stuff that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't want to ever
brag.
Yeah. Oh no, not even that.
No,
I don't even want to.
Yeah.
Like Coach, this is kind of a funny story. He asked me if he ever gave me a shirt,
and
I was like, oh yeah, when I signed up, he gave me one. He was like, how come you don't wear it? I'm like, I don't feel worthy to wear it. And he was like, what? I go, I just don't want to. I see how hard everybody's worked here, and I don't want to disrespect that.
Yeah.
And he was so kind.
What did he say?
Yeah.
He he was like, dude, wear it. You're part of our family. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's how he. Yeah.
He's so cool.
Yeah.
Like when you're around cool people, that just makes life so much better. But still, I don't like. I've been on a couple of podcasts and people have tried to get me to talk about jiu-jitsu, and I'm like, just grateful to have an opportunity to go be humbled and thank you, and that's it.
Yeah,
I don't know anything about it.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I've been at the Ralph's near our place, and ran into some guys I don't even know that go to street sports too.
Yeah.
And you strike a conversation with them. It's just like, oh wow, it's like you have. It's like being a part of like a religion or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like you have family everywhere.
Yeah, it's that common bond and that,
Mhm.
and that's also with the stand-up and the comedy thing. And like, we were talking to, was it Ross Copeland last night? We were talking to him about, we saw him at the store.
Oh, yep.
And he was mentioning like going to the, we saw him at actual store, like Ralph's.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. That's what I meant to say.
Dude, I remember when I moved to LA, everybody's like, I'll see you at the store. I'll see you at the store. I'm like, which store? When will I see you there? Like, I didn't know. I was like, store?
What?
I've been waiting here for days.
Yeah. But we saw him and he mentioned like going to the comedy store and like seeing Crystalia and stuff like that. And like, and being in those moments where like you have that common bond, or it's like, oh, I've seen you, or like hanging out, like even like with us hanging out with you in the back and people seeing us.
Yeah.
But then he said like one time like going to Ralph's or something, running into Crystalia, and it's one of those moments where it's like, like it's like, you're right. I don't walk on that. It's just like that.
We don't walk on the same ground.
Yeah, it's that different bond of like when you're at the comedy store or a venue like that, you're all on some kind of level. Like, like because you're that, if they know you're a comic.
I think that's the coolest thing about that place.
Yep.
At least that was one of the first things that made me feel really grateful for the comedy store was, in my opinion, I felt something very similar to you. I don't know if anybody else feels similar. But I remember once, it was like Eddie Murphy and Dice were talking, and we were all open micers. But I think what makes the comedy store special is once you really prove that you have the desire to be a comedian, guess what? You're in.
Yeah.
You're like, so from open mic all the way through legend, you're just one of us. And I think the way Mitzi designed it, she always wanted everybody to feel comfortable there. And I think it's really important at first I saw it from the point of view of the open micer, where I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool that you can hang out and have a conversation with somebody that you've seen on TV.
Yeah.
But now I see, as my friends have started to hit that status where they make people nervous when they walk into a room, it's really important for them to have a place where they're just Ari or they're just Uncle Joe.
Yeah.
So like, hey man, we're all comics.
Yeah.
We're all in this thing together.
And that's why, I mean, besides the one time with Theo walking in, other than that, it's mostly like, I don't know who you are, Uncle Joey.
I run into Theo way too much.
I run into him.
Dude,
I took a piss next to him the other day.
I was just like, but it's great. I mean, like you said, I listen to his podcast all the time.
Dude, he's uniquely funny and consistently.
Oh, he is. Yeah. Unique is
he's
a good word.
Special talent.
Yeah. Those levels of I like that experience of going, and now we're making it to the point where I think we told you we hit 100 mics the other day. So that was, I know I can't.
Dude, that's incredible.
I know 5 months, 100 mics.
Yeah.
All right, that's what every young comic should hear out there. No excuses.
Yeah.
You just did it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, the only excuse would be if you are in somewhere like Denver or something where there is.
Denver's got a great comedy scene.
Well, but I mean, there's
comedy's
no
blowing up everywhere.
Yeah,
but that you still find a way to get on.
You'll find a way.
Okay,
and I think if not, you can create your own opportunities. Like people that live in small markets. Because I did an AMA about 4 years ago. Some guy was doing a study on Reddit, and I think he actually wrote a book on Reddit, and reached out to me to try to explain to me what Reddit was, and had me do an AMA. And it was really cool because I was warned that people could just be ruthless there and say the worst things ever. But it was all young comics that were hitting me up for advice that had heard my name on podcasts and stuff like that. And that's one of my favorite things. One of the things I'm so grateful for is that people feel comfortable enough with me to ask me to help, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And one of the things and ever since then, people hear me on podcasts, and I would say, not that I have much interaction from people, but maybe 20, 30% of it is young comics looking for advice. And sometimes a common issue is, well, I live in East Jabip, the middle of nowhere. And they're like, there isn't any stage. And I'm like, well, we both know at some point you're going to have to move.
Yeah.
At some point.
Yeah.
But you can start your own open mic. I mean, you could go to a coffee shop. You could go to a bar. You could go to your public library.
Yeah.
You could find a way to create stage time.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, man, everything in life's hard.
Yeah.
Everything in life's hard. So
no, yeah.
you either want to do it or you don't.
You either want to do it or you don't. And we were talking about this last night because we went to a different spot for the first time. And I turned to him and I was like, I give props to anybody who actually does this on their own.
Yeah.
Because
which most of them do.
Most of them do. But I'm just like, because there's sitting there just like, oh my God, we've been doing this. We've done 100 mics. Okay, it's a new place.
And a lot of that's because we have each other holding
each other accountable.
Yeah. Sport, man.
Yeah.
You
just
need
like
people to
we're
get
constantly
you
pushing each other and like, okay, are we going to do this today? Are we going to do this? Because each one of us individually could talk ourselves out of it 1,000 times, and I mean, we did with each other for the first 5 months before we started, and then.
What was the moment that you guys said, forget it, I'm going to go do this? How did you find out about the fourth wall? And what was the moment that made you say, this is it, we're doing it?
Well, we found out the fourth wall because of you, because you told us that Lee went there. You were telling us about Lee. It was one time we met up, maybe I think after jiu-jitsu one day.
Okay.
At Crave, and then we got back from. I did a karaoke night for my birthday in Nashville over Christmas break.
You got that bug of being on stage.
And I was like, I was like, oh, this isn't so bad. And I was sick, so all I could do was talk the words. I couldn't even sing.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay. And everyone laughed at it. And so I was like, oh, okay. Well, I guess that's what this is like. And he was scared to get on to do karaoke. Yeah. But then after I did it, he wanted to do it. And then they shut the karaoke down.
I was like, no.
Yeah. And so anyway, we were actually at the Comedy Store. I think on a Monday night or something like that. Maybe Sunday night.
I think it was a Monday night.
And I think we were just there to hang out. And we're like, fuck it. Let's sign up for the fourth wall tomorrow. Yeah. So we put our names down.
Put it in. Was it? Yeah. We put it in because here the fourth wall, it signs up. You can't do it. Fills up pretty fast.
Yes.
So that's what was our excuse for the longest time was, we'll wait till the morning, and then if we feel right, we'll sign up. It's always filled up. Oh, well,
no.
We tried.
We tried.
Can't say I didn't try.
And then finally, but that Monday was one of those. We're at the store, we're filling it. We're like, screw it, So we signed up for that Wednesday, and we were like, and
pretty much never looked back.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Are magical. They're amazing moments where you're just like, I'm jumping out of the plane.
Yeah. And that's what it felt like. It was just. It felt like the jump of the plane moment. Even just pushing send and enter on the thing.
Were you guys fans of comedy growing up?
Oh yeah.
That's what
especially like comedy flicks.
We were comedy
but
movies.
Stand-up for sure.
Stand-up just always scared the crap out of me. Like I always wanted to do it, but at the same time, I did improv and stuff like that. But even then, it was being up there by yourself, telling your thoughts. That is horrifying.
Yeah.
And then like with Steele, He's probably been on before doing stand-up, probably been on stage maybe 5 times in his entire life. Like
maybe.
Probably even less.
Yeah.
So like he's been the last few months just getting over that fear,
Yeah.
And even then I'm, family, so I see the change. But I think Travis also is like mentioned too, seeing like the change as far as that growth. So.
Oh yeah, so you guys shitting your pants way less. It's really
Exactly.
It's good to see. It's really cool to see.
Yeah. He's like, it's fun. I can see you guys are comfortable on there, and you're actually like working things out. I was like, oh, good
That's
to
awesome.
know.
Yeah.
I'm just happy you guys really you just kept coming back too, because I see a lot of guys who had the same look in your eyes day one who just never come back.
Yeah.
And it's sad because it's just like, this is really scary.
No, it's scary. And that's why, too, it goes back to, and we've seen maybe 2, most recently, I say in the last month, first-time comics.
Mm-hmm.
And in that, it's the same feeling where when we hear that, we're like, I'll go up to them afterwards, introduce myself,
awesome.
I'll say, hey,
good set.
whether or not
That's
it was,
what it's all about.
just like, hey, come back, keep doing it, like, oh, that's cool, just, and then for it to, on my own, like ego sense, it was cool for them to turn around and be like, wait, I've only been doing it 5 months. They're like, wait, dude, oh man, you look comfortable up there. I was like, oh, well, thanks. I was like, I'm scared shitting bricks up there too.
Yeah.
I was like, but I was like, you went up there and your set was great. And like, just keep coming back, keep doing it. We'll see you around.
Dude, I remember like my first class at Street Sports and Gerard came up to me.
Oh yeah.
And I was
That's a good
like,
one.
oh my God, dude, you're an angel. Like to have like a
Yeah, he really is.
complete badass be that nice to you.
Oh, so
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
And like make you feel like, hey, yeah, you'll get it. Yeah, it's gonna take some time.
Yep.
I was there the day he got his black belt.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
so cool.
That's crazy because now I only think of him as a black belt. I
Right.
actually knew him when he was a brown belt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're moving on up in the world.
Yeah, he's been doing jiu-jitsu for, I think he told me like 15 years now.
Wow.
Maybe longer, maybe like 17
Yeah.
years. It was close to 20. But then also he's, 25 years into Muay Thai or 30 years.
Yeah,
something
right.
like
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Like we've realized,
He's even better at Muay
Dude,
Thai.
he's a
we realized
superhero.
it's like our.
Yeah.
We're,
And he's a Navy. I think he's a Navy SEAL.
Is he a Navy
Maybe
SEAL?
he's a SEAL. I don't know if he's a SEAL. He was in the Navy for sure.
Oh my goodness.
I think, yeah, he was in the Navy
Dude,
for
I
sure.
feel so
Yeah.
incompetent
Well, that's
right
the thing.
now,
Like we talk about that all the
I can't
time.
believe that guy says hi to me.
Like we talk about it all the time. We're like, we're the only ones. Like I feel like who
Maybe
we've
he
met. Who,
went to
this
Bud,
is our
maybe.
first language as far as jiu-jitsu. Like we
Yeah.
didn't do anything else before this. You
Yeah.
know, like everybody else. Even when you're like,
Krav Maga,
yeah, even when they're
boxing,
white
Muay
belts and
Thai.
you're like, wow, you're really good. It's like, oh yeah, I've done 7 years of no-gi, or oh, I've done
Yes.
8 years
Yeah,
of Krav Maga. Or like,
Yesterday at the end of class, I went out, that new kid, Jake,
Oh,
who's
yeah.
really nice.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm getting smashed. I'm like, this isn't. And he was like, no, I've done this, this, and this. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, okay. That makes sense.
yeah,
Yeah. No, yeah.
I've done cheeseburgers and comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my background.
Yeah. No, usually if someone has like, like is somewhat good at it, they understand that like level of aggression that you need to
Yeah.
reach to like, and they understand like how to be calm in certain situations. They've
Yeah.
done something before.
Dude, I think that's one of the most badass things ever is when you see somebody that's calm in a room where everybody else isn't.
Yeah.
That is a clear indication that that person has a level of skills that should be respected.
Yeah.
Like I remember I have a buddy of mine that I actually met him in Afghanistan the first time I went over to do shows. And he's just super cool dude. I didn't know what he did. I didn't ask. I just like, hey man, anybody that wears a uniform has my respect.
Yeah.
So I try to stay in touch with as many people as I can. And that experience was so life-changing for me because it was my first time over there that we stayed in touch over the years. And I remember he came to visit at the Comedy Store once. And there was all this like that commotion.
Yeah.
Like where you can feel like a fight's about to break out and stuff. So I was like, my first thought was, let's just leave. You know what I mean? And his first thought was, let's jump into the middle of this. And everybody else's energy was so high.
Yeah.
And he just calmed everybody
Just
down.
stay
Just
calm.
with his presence of being calm or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I found out that he was some sort of Air Force special operations.
Oh, of course.
And then, yeah.
You just and I don't try to
Yeah.
judge a book by its cover as much anymore.
Or don't at all.
Like
Well, isn't that the weird thing about comedy, though? Sometimes you can tell if somebody's funny.
Yeah, you're just like you're looking at it and you're like, oh yeah, you're definitely gonna be funny. But then there's sometimes.
Yeah, it's true. You're absolutely
Yeah,
right.
you're right. Yeah,
So true. And it's definitely true for people that should
Yeah.
be completely respected. You're
Yeah.
like, what's that guy know?
Yeah, what?
Oh, I can't move my legs.
I just broke this. Oh, dude, so many injuries, so many times. Like I'd say I've. Last night I was like, yeah, I've been in the hospital 3 times in the last 5 months, all for jiu-jitsu. I was like, I guess I
hilarious.
better give up my dreams of not being Joe Rogan. Like,
Yeah.
it's never gonna happen. But I mean, you've even been hurt a few times.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I remember,
how's
like-
your shoulder going?
I don't know.
Or your pec.
It's okay.
pec,
Dude,
right?
I don't know. I just found the MRI disc in my car because they send you an MRI report that I sent to my physical therapist and my doctor checked it out. I don't know. Like, at least it doesn't hurt anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember, like, I was afraid to get involved with any sort of martial art or whatever because I didn't have health insurance.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then when jiu-jitsu was on my list, like, that's the only one I really wanted.
Yeah.
I wanted to do jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
But I didn't have health insurance. And a couple of my friends were like,
Who talked you into doing jiu-jitsu?
everybody.
Oh
Yeah.
It's something I always wanted to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Ari even did it.
Yeah, there was a point where I remember I was so, not jealous, but I was like, man, that's so cool. About 15 years ago, I remember Joe paying for Ari and Duncan Trussell to do jujitsu. because of all those things we've talked about.
Yeah.
How the lessons there are transferable lessons.
Yeah.
They're
Right.
lessons that apply to other areas of your life.
Learning to breathe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that's what got me through my getting stumped yesterday at the mic.
Yeah.
Like kind of like it was the first time I'd been under not on this stage out here,
Mhm.
and I was like, it kind of freaked me out just for a second, and I kind of lost my train of thought.
Yes.
But then I like kind of picked it back
Yeah,
up and then
yeah.
started gaining
Yeah.
momentum, and I was just like,
Yeah.
okay, cool.
And
But
then-
I had to like stop,
Yeah.
kind of breathe,
Yep.
make
Yep.
fun of myself for a second.
Jump
Yeah.
into the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. Jump
Yeah.
into the moment.
And when
yeah.
you did that, I was proud because I was like, nope, that is that showing that progression and being
Yeah.
a comic, because there's been plenty of times where it's like, I don't know, and then we'll move on and go to a whole new topic, but he paused and breathed
Yeah.
and let it
And
happen.
and it made it work
yeah.
almost.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Isn't that weird though? Like something just as simple as breathing will change everything.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
It just sounds too easy.
Yeah.
But
the
it's
simplicities of life.
that. Yep.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
hmm
It keeps you going. And the what is your favorite, like, there's lots of moments at the store, I'm sure you have, but like, what's the one you mentioned about Robin Williams? That's my favorite one. Like,
Well, there's when
No,
I
I
think
mean, you have
about
a few, but
favorite
yeah,
moments
but
at
yeah.
the Comedy Store, there's so many. Like one to me defines like the beauty of comedy.
mhm.
So it's not about me. That's one thing I don't like about podcasts.
Mhm.
I've been doing so many
Mhm.
promoting my new album. Where
Yeah.
It's just like I'm sick of the sound of my own voice.
That's why he doesn't
Um,
have headphones in.
Oh yeah.
That's it. But try the veal. All right. So this to me is the beauty of stand-up comedy and the Comedy Store's sort of no holds barred
Yeah.
approach to it. I was working the door at the Comedy Store, so it had to be before 2005, I think, or 2006. I quit somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite comics, and if you ask any comedian at the Comedy Store, anybody that's there that's a student of comedy, that loves comedy, and that's there often enough to watch Brian Holtzman do his thing,
Mhm.
we're all Holtzman fans. And this was one of Holtzman's first main room spots. He wasn't getting a lot of main room
Yeah.
spots because that's considered like more of the polished showroom. And Brian's act is just pure emotion, and that's what makes it great. So back then, the Comedy Store wasn't what it was now. So like even on a Saturday night main room show, we'd be lucky to have 100 people,
Mhm.
maybe 150. Now it'll be sold out for two shows at 400. That's
Yeah.
usually the difference.
Yeah.
Instead of the room doing 100 people on a Saturday night, now it's probably doing close to 800. I mean, that's
Wow.
crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm working the door, and a gentleman came in with his date, and this person was completely paralyzed. He was a quadriplegic.
Mhm.
And for whatever reason, I was just like, man, I hope this guy can have some laughs tonight.
Yeah.
So I gave him the best seats that I could. And throughout the course of the night, after comic after comic after comic, it didn't look like he was having a good time.
Yeah.
Okay. And that kind of hurt me because I'm like,
Yeah,
man,
for
if
sure.
anybody needs laughs, this dude needs some laughs. And then by the time Holtzman went on, I believe that night he was the last act of the evening. So this couple had been at the store for at least 3 hours. There's probably 11 people left in the room, maybe 15, including the comics, because
Mhm.
whoever was there would come in and
wow.
watch.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember sitting down just to watch Holtzman, and it's essentially an empty main room with 10 or 12 people. And Holtzman saying the most vicious, inappropriate things a human being could think of. And it's it's so funny, right? And I'm loving it. And then I just hear this. And it's the guy in the wheelchair
Yeah.
who literally had tears coming out of his eyes, and his date had to keep on wiping the
What?
tears from his eyes because he was laughing so hard.
That's,
And I went, dude,
that's why.
that's the comedy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the reason why you do comedy. It's just really a cool way of giving.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It's those moments that comes down to, it's not like it's us giving back to where when I was in high school, I was in place. And I remember a moment when I realized, okay, this is what I want to do. Because my teacher came up to me one time and was like, I loved you in that performance. And I didn't have any lines. I made up my lines. They were alien words. So I had 3 lines that I created. Like, it was my first ever play.
Do you remember them?
Gibbadelia Drio is one of them.
Not bad. Of course. Not bad.
I've been a fan of Gibbadelia. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I think I made up the other ones. I think I had 1 line, and then the rest I just was like, "You're not giving me only 1 line." But I just then so I'm right. Like, I'm here. But it was But I remember the teacher coming up to me and being like, "Dude, you were great in that. You made us laugh." And he's like, "There was a moment though I didn't like you for the last like 6 months, or like for a year, I think, because this was later on in life." And I was like, "Why?" He's like, "Because." All that reminded him of was the moment that him and his wife were going through a divorce. And that was the one time they got out as a family before they went through the divorce, and they all could laugh and forget about what was going on in their house. So it was a good moment. And he's like, it was a bonding experience and all that, but there was a moment where it was like, not that he didn't like me, but those two were connected too much.
Yeah.
But it made him forget about life for 2 hours.
Yeah.
I don't remember which comic told me this, but it was like an old Road Dogg comic. Like, I sort of got my experience as a comedian because Pauly Shore was kind enough to let me be his merch guy, personal assistant, opening act, MC, my first couple years in comedy. So, like, we would have a feature act that would be a local act.
Yep.
And I don't remember who it was. But I remember him telling me that every time you're on stage, you have to give it everything you have because you never know why somebody's in the audience that night. You never know why they're there. And there's been a few times where that's been driven home.
Yeah.
Somebody will come up to you after a show and just say something and you go, oh my God.
Yeah, that's what, and this is why. Yeah, that's why you have to give it your all, whether there's one person in the audience or 1,000 people in the audience or...
Yeah, it's a weird thing, too, because I get how frustrating this process can be. It's so long, and there are times you're on stage, you don't really want to be on stage, and it feels like work. But I did hear a really cool story that motivated me.
Yeah.
Because I completely understood both sides of the story. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Where you go, I could have easily been either dude in this story.
Yeah.
Okay? So the story was, and I'm not going to mention any names, even though they did mention it on another podcast, but once again, I don't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
So it was late night at the Comedy Store, and a comic just looked at the crowd, and there was like 3 audience members left. That's how late in the night it was. And he just went, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing 3 people. So then the next guy that was going to perform after him was like, sweet, I'm going to get up in front of 3. And he went up in front of 3 and was just having fun with them. And then Dave Chappelle showed up. And Dave Chappelle's in the back of the room. And then now Chappelle's interacting with the comic. And they improv'd for about a half an hour on stage, having laughs, just saying crazy things. And then Chappelle came up to him after the show and was like, hey, dude, you're really funny. I'm going to be filming my special here next week. Do you want to open up for me?
Wow.
So...
yeah.
I could easily understand the point of view of saying, nope, I'm not going to do this. Because there are shows in comedy where it's like, you have to, I think overall you want to never give up, right? But you have to know how to take care of yourself so you don't give up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I remember early on there was rooms that were, the open mics were so bad. I'm like, if I consistently expose myself to this, I'll quit. I'll just quit. So it's like you want to make sure that your long-term goal is to stay persistent and never give up.
Yeah.
So I understand when sometimes people go, I can't do another room for 3 people. I can't do it. And I understand that. But then again, what an amazing story of somebody that said, I'll take that opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm not giving up in this moment. I'm going to just enjoy what there is. And it leads to a career breakthrough.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know how to interpret that story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
I'd like to think I would be the guy that's like, all right, 3 people.
right.
Yeah.
And I try to be that guy.
Because even in that moment, you're not in that mindset of fear of missing out. You feel like I know I'm losing out right now. There's only 3 people here. I'm not gonna. I'm not losing anything by saying screw this. You know?
Right. And I guess the lesson is like, don't fall into that trap. I guess the lesson is, the more I think about it, I guess the lesson is, I'm not certain, that push through it, and there might be magic there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an amazing, like, biggest comedian in comedy, just to have that opportunity to interact with them in a comedic way. Like, we're all so fortunate to be here.
And him coming in at the end like that.
Yeah. I know there's probably going to be kids that hear this. They're going to be like, I would love to go on
right
at the Comedy Store.
Right.
And you can't ever forget that. And it's, I guess, I'm motivating myself as I'm thinking about it, really. Yeah. But another great piece of advice I had heard somewhere, was treat every opportunity like it's your first time on stage, your last time on stage, and your only time on stage. Yeah. And if you're able to really explore the moment that profoundly, you'll be good to go. And look, I don't know. I try my best to do that, but I just needed to hear that again out loud. So,
there's that. I'm gonna get the quote wrong, but it's like motivation and showering are the same. They both need to be repeated daily, or something, or like
for sure,
layered or lathered daily.
Yeah,
it's just I mean, it's so easy to have motivation and have some kind of thing, but not actually go with it. You know, it's hard. You know, there are days where, I mean, you know, even with the weather outside, you know, like, I mean, we're in LA, but when it's gloomy out, it's still that feeling of, do I want to do anything? I just want to stay inside today. I don't want to do this. Do I want to get in front of people who, you know, it's like, who's already heard my set, like, or like, do I want to try something out, and like going, you know,
and finding that balance that, I don't know, between that and self-care, you know, where you're like, hey man, I can't be grinding all the time. Like, I remember when Steve Renazizi was shooting the TV show The League. Yeah, he was he's like my best friend. He was my roommate at the time. And I always used to, like, I remember him on Sundays. He was like, don't call in for spots on Sundays anymore. We'll have people come over. We'll cook a nice meal. We'll watch Boardwalk Empire. And he goes, you have to have those nights to recharge. And for years, man, I didn't take a break from anything. And I think I would have gotten better results if I sort of allowed myself to recharge. And even now, I'm guilty of that, where I just keep on going and going and going. Instead of going, all right, man, but I don't know how to find that balance. No, I know there should be a balance.
It is hard finding that balance. And I mean, we're trying to find that balance, and, you know, time management, you know, like just, and it is having self-care in that time, which for us, I mean, physical fitness, with jiu-jitsu and stuff like that, that is kind of it. But even then, you do need that one day, one time to just
do absolutely nothing.
Just like do nothing, forever. You know, even like just hanging out with friends and stuff like that, just like you said, just chilling, you know, have a day where you just, you know,
you need to recharge,
cook out and recharge. And like, because at least with friends too, you don't, there's certain friends, some friends you might feel like, okay, it's that type of friend where it's like, okay, I still have to be on, you know? And then there's friends where it's like, we can just sit here and watch TV, but also we can shoot the shit, and it's still fun, and it doesn't feel like it's not work, but like it doesn't
drain you.
Yeah, it doesn't drain you. It's like, oh no, it's just another day, and I feel like, cool, this was a good day. We needed this, or I needed this, and not like, oh, let's go, we're gonna go hang out with so and so, or I want to hang out with so, and or like, you know, you have to almost like, not even, I don't want to say be fake, but it is that you have to turn yourself on and be in that mindset to be, because there's only so many close friends or people who know you enough or can be in that realm of things of, you know, you take me how I am right now. I don't want to, oh, come on, be funny. It's like, no, we're funny because we're fun and we're comfortable. You know, you're just comfortable.
Recharge. Yep. So true. That's what this podcast did for me. This was awesome.
Yeah, no.
That's why we said it's like, it's been so busy constantly. Like, the only way we can keep hanging out and stuff is doing podcasts. And I say that's how my family finds out about us, is just by listening to the podcast. And so that, you know, like,
has
lately hasn't gone so well. I mean, he was just, for those of you who don't know, our uncle got upset with us for something we said on Episode 2.
Episode 2. But again,
whatever.
everybody has their opinions of things, you know. And I mean, we still love him, but it's.
Oh yeah, he still loves us.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but it's just one of those where it's like, teach their own.
So he just said he wasn't going to listen to it. We were like, okay, fair.
That's
Fair
fine.
enough.
He said he's not going to share it with his church friends. I was like, that's probably a good idea.
A good thing. Don't.
Fair enough.
Don't. I'm not hashtagging church or Bible songs on this one. I'm not. Because maybe this one. This one's a little bit, you know.
You really shouldn't watch that Bible trivia episode.
Yeah, though. Bible trivia? We do have a Bible trivia
We have a Bible
episode.
trivia episode.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Because we usually, if we don't have someone on, we start with trivia. And it's like the Bible episode, I was surprised. I still didn't know. There were some deep questions.
There were some hard ones.
Yeah.
You almost had to be a priest to
Did
Yeah.
you guys
answer some
grow
of
up
these.
hardcore with the Bible?
No, that's why we did it. Because
No,
it
we
wasn't.
could have.
Like Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, I
No,
was
he's
like,
not even
he's
in the
not
Bible.
even
All right.
Yeah.
No, we had our moments because our grandfather was a Presbyterian pastor. And then, that whole side was in the church. And then my side of my family on my dad's side was Catholic. So it's, been in the church. But like as far as knowing, some of these questions were just, and they weren't even multiple choice, I don't think. I think some of them were actually you just had to know the answer.
Yeah, I hate those. I hate those ones. We need to do just multiple choice. It's the only thing that makes
I
sense.
need choices, guys. Choices. But
Well, it's cool that you guys have each other to do this podcast too.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like that's the toughest thing is finding
Yeah.
a guest for a podcast.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
So if
so
we don't
much
have
work.
one,
yeah.
That's like people don't realize how much work podcasts are. Just
Oh,
trying to get a guest
so
and
much
then
work.
scheduling
Yeah.
that guest. Like I had a guy this week. We're all set to record, and 10 minutes before he's like, I can't make it. And you're like,
oh no.
it's what it is though.
Yeah.
Everything.
It's that constant.
work.
And that's why we
Yeah.
kind of did episodes before, like did pre-releases and then start doing them, weekly because this gives us time to build, build
It's like
it.
starting a business
Yep.
with money in the
Yeah,
bank.
yeah, exactly.
We're not like I have to make money right away
Yeah.
to keep the doors open.
We're just
Right.
building it, kind of thing. And each episode up until now is they probably can tell us just us learning as we go. First few we didn't have green screen, then we have green screen, then we add some little dings and stuff around and stuff, and so it's a work in progress for sure.
We're all works in progress.
Mhm. Work in progress. Do we get the light, Travis?
Yeah,
I
I
think-
think we got like
It
2
was an
minutes.
uncomfortable one.
I think we got 2
Work in
minutes.
progress.
Well, I know-
Hey,
I know-
thank you. Good night.
I know we were pushing it. I know he's got. Everyone's got to get out of here.
perfect timing.
But,
yeah, you can. You have your podcast.
Yeah. Tell
you
us
guys
about.
have to be on my podcast. It's called Good Times. I have a new album out on iTunes called Jabba. And
What's your Instagram?
Steve,
Do you want us
Steve
to tell you?
Simeone Comedy. Steve's S-I-M. Yeah. You know what? My website is awesomesteve.com. And like my Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter are all there.
Oh, there. Yeah.
All right, that's dope.
And we'll put it in the bio section.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for
It'll be
having me.
great.
Oh yeah, no, thank you for being
and I
here.
can't wait for us to
Yeah,
be
be
on
on
yours and you
yours
be on
and
again in the
be-
future, and we
yeah.
have.
And we have to go to my Italian deli.
Yes.
Oh,
we still have
100%.
to do that for
'cause
sure.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going for lunch today. And
Oh,
I'm
that's
like,
not-
I get to hang out with my buddies,
Right.
eat a sandwich.
Yep, that's gonna be the
a good
best. I
day.
can't wait. All right,
Yeah.
guys. Well,
Well, Steve Simeone, everybody.
Steve Simeone,
Thanks
everybody.
again, man.
thanks. And
Yeah, we really
remember,
appreciate it, dude.
Thanks for having me. I just realized the camera was there.
Oh yeah, I know. We got the
I'm
camera right
also
here.
Hey.
yeah.
All right, guys.
Remember, guys, don't talk about it.
Be about it. Later.
It's not what you wanted from me. Been trying to make sense of my mistakes. My mistakes, yeah.
Hey, you guys. Thanks for watching this episode. Please hit that subscribe button. Go follow us on all the social medias, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
And remember, if you want to go the extra mile, you can also support us over on Patreon, where in the future we'll be able to get unreleased content and content that nobody else can see. And remember, guys, don't talk about it.
Be about it.
Peace.